For a long time, this building was just another forgotten stop off the highway. Boarded windows, cracked paint, a parking lot slowly being reclaimed by the desert. Most Sims drove right past it without even noticing it was there, until someone new came to town and saw something everyone else missed. This is the Cactus Grill. Hello everyone, welcome back, and welcome in if you're new. I'm PCityPlays, and today we're doing another speed build for my forever world. I'm building in the world of Oasis Springs on a 30 by 20 lot in the Mirage Canyon downtown area. I'm so excited to share that this build is one of my favorites so far, and it's the infamous Cactus Grill Diner. A little history. Years ago, the Cactus Grill was the kind of place where truckers stopped before sunrise and locals stayed long after the place was empty. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't trendy, but it was dependable, and places like that become part of the town's identity, whether people realize it or not. But when the original owners retired, the energy of the town shifted and the doors closed. And slowly but surely, little by little, the diner was forgotten. Desert dust covered the boarded up windows. The lights on the neon sign that once lit up the road for miles had burned out. Tumbleweeds filled the parking lot, and the once shiny metal roof was now rusted and riddled with holes. Then someone new arrived in Oasis Springs, the kind of sim who doesn't just move into a town, they reshape it. They weren't looking to build something flashy. They wanted this town to feel lived in again. That meant bringing life back into the spaces people had stopped noticing. When the new owner first stepped inside, it was obvious that this building still had good bones. It just had been waiting for someone to care for it again. And instead of gutting the space and starting over from scratch, they chose a softer approach, modernizing what needed attention while protecting the character that made the diner recognizable in the first place. Because good renovations don't erase the past, they let it evolve. I spent a lot of time browsing Pinterest and looking at old photos. I drew a lot of inspiration from Route 66 and a lot of roadside 50s diners because I really wanted this build in particular to feel a little old and new all at the same time. I wanted the structure, the shape, and the layout to be heavily inspired by this diner I found. The name is legit, Route 66 Diner in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which totally fits the theme of the world. And it's something I tried to stick to throughout this whole Forever World process. I wanted everything to feel like it belonged in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Although I've never been, it is on my list of places to travel to this year, actually. I've been looking at a lot of photos, so I feel like I've been there, and I feel like this diner definitely fits the vibe. Actually, this little bit here, this roof that I struggled with for a bit, but then I ended up finding my way in the end. I mean, I had to kind of fit it together like a puzzle, but we got there. With the addition of this little roof piece, you can kind of see the shape coming together now. It's starting to look like a diner. I'm getting very excited to see it all come together and show you what I did. My vision and my goal for this build for the Cactus Grill was all about balance, about letting the diner feel new, but without erasing some of that old school history that you usually see with a 60s diner. And a big part of that was keeping the shape, keeping this tin roof, this metal tin roof that I saw in a lot of pictures that I was looking at. Keeping the layout. The color scheme is even really nostalgic. Picked green as the accent color because it just felt very muted, very desert-y, subtle, calming. I wanted it to be a staple place in my world as well. I wanted it to feel like someplace where you could just go hang out. Most of the time, my Sims are probably still gonna cook their meals at home and burn the house down and barely leave the house. But on the rare occasion that they do get out, I wanted them to have like a neighborhood place where everybody feels like a local, and the kind of place where you go to grab coffee in the morning and get the latest gossip, because the waitresses there and the cooks, they all know everybody's business because everybody stops here after work or before work and kind of gathers. I just wanted a big gathering spot. Because when you renovate a place like this, you're not just updating a build, you're giving the whole town a facelift in a way, breathing new life into it. I wanted it to feel familiar, but better. This feels like the kind of place where you would see the same two guys sitting at the counter, drinking their coffee. I don't know if they just got off of an all-night shift or they're just about to go to work, but they're just kind of chatting it up with the waitress, gossiping, getting the town news, spreading town news. It also feels like a great place to have like a first date, maybe a mini celebration, maybe a breakup, that kind of place. I also imagined what the new owner of the Cactus Grill would be. I imagine the new owner lives slightly above their means, but refuses to cut corners. They're the first one in every morning, the last one out, the last one to lock up. They know that this is the kind of place that the town needs right now. And when I started building my Forever World save, I promised myself I wouldn't just build lots and drop them onto the map and forget about them. I wanted every space to feel like it belonged here, like it was part of the past and part of the story's future. And the Cactus Grill is exactly that kind of place. It's not flashy, it's not perfect, but it's necessary for the story. And I didn't want it to feel like a forgotten building. I wanted it to feel like something that the whole town could grow around. Some of my builds are just builds, but every once in a while I get to build something really special, a place that feels like it was always waiting to be built. And I feel like the Cactus Grill is one of those places. I'm also really excited to share this build, share its backstory with everybody. Let me know in the comments if we like builds with lore, if we just want something calming with music like I have been doing. I just thought it was going to be really fun to add a little backstory to the Cactus Grill, because it's going to play a big role in my Forever World once we get the stories up and running and I finally sit down to record some of the ideas that have been floating in my head for a while. The next build also has some story, has some lore. I'm working on that now. So yeah, that's what I got coming up. So many builds. Oasis Springs is a very expansive world. I think I didn't realize that when I picked Oasis Springs to start building it in the first place. I thought it was going to be easy. Here we are. What is this? 5-6 builds in, and we're just getting to a place that everybody can hang out. Now that we're inside, we can talk a little bit more about some of the things that I picked for the interior of the diner. I do not like landscaping. It's my least favorite. I tend to just clutter places up and throw plants wherever it looks good. I am more of an interior decorator, I would say. Not professionally, but hey, maybe someday. And bathrooms are also my least favorite thing to build in The Sims. I don't know, because it's just like a room with a toilet and a sink and a mirror. Like, how innovative can you be? I love those stalls that I picked from the Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack. Those are in almost every one of my community spaces that I use because they're just easy. You just throw them up and you're done. And then your Sims aren't waving their arms around when somebody else is in there and they really have to go to the bathroom. Another thing about this build that I really wanted to keep modern but nostalgic is all of the checkerboard tiling. I saw that come up a lot when I was doing research for this build. It's very hard to find a picture of an old school diner that doesn't have some sort of checkerboard somewhere, whether it be the flooring, the tile backsplash. Checkerboard was a big staple, I guess, in the 50s. And also, diners need commercial kitchens, and I'm working on the commercial-esque kitchen right now. I know a lot of my builds use a lot of CC because I love CC. I can't help it. It's so cute. Look at how good all these jars and pots and pans look on this rack. We just don't have anything like it in the base game. Anybody who's ever worked at a restaurant or in a kitchen or a diner or even a fast food place knows that the kitchen is always cluttered and chaotic. Sometimes clean, sometimes not. Fun fact, one of my first ever jobs was at an Italian restaurant pretty close to where I live now. I moved back to my hometown, and the kitchen was always so fun, so loud, so chaotic, and sometimes so scary. It's one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. My favorite and least favorite, I would say, working in a kitchen that looks strikingly similar to this. It wasn't very big. It was a small Italian place. But I loved it. And when I was building this diner, I drew a lot of inspiration from what I remember in those days. Also, don't know if you just caught that, but I almost completed the entire kitchen without putting a refrigerator in there. And that would have been bad because then nobody would have been able to eat. Now we're moving on into the dining room, and I kept the layout pretty close to the pictures that I was seeing of 50s diners with the booths, the long tables. I also wanted to incorporate a lot of light wood tones because the lighter wood tones give me like desert vibes, and they kind of go with the calming of the green of the floors and the walls. And psychologically, I think, don't quote me, but I think green is supposed to be a very calming color. I don't think it's, a lot of the builds I saw, a lot of the diners I was looking at, everything was like red and white or yellow and red and white and just super loud, super busy, super anxiety inducing in my opinion. So I wanted this to be kind of like a calm take on that, a less chaotic, less ketchup and mustard feeling diner than what I was seeing. All of these booths and counters, and I think the bar that I put in are all custom content from Harry. They made a restaurant themed CC pack called Spoons, and that's where I got a lot of these items from, the counters, the booths, these little tables that I plop down, because some people are booth people and some people are table people. I'm a booth person. Let me know if you're a booth person or a table person. I put a little mixture of both just in case. I don't know. Some Sims might like a table more. I know sometimes they're going to prefer that. There's the bar, which is stunningly gorgeous. I love how the wood looks on this content as well. You can see all like the dark and light grain, the art that matches. We kept everything very green, very clean, very modern. Even these little menus and little accents to clutter up the tables a little bit. Another thing you'll notice about my builds is I'm not a clutter builder. I am also not a clutter person in real life, really. I like minimalist, clean spaces, stuff that doesn't collect a lot of dust. Every time I see something that's overly cluttered, I think of just like dusting it. How am I going to dust that? That's going to be a pain. And I'm a little bit on the lazy side too, so I probably wouldn't dust it. I would probably let it stay dusty. So that's why I like to keep my my builds pretty clean too. Who is the... I know there's a lady who does... She comes into your house and she just like gets rid of everything. Marie Kondo. Yeah. That's who I model my life after. Marie Kondo. Everything must go. I don't think that's her real philosophy. I think I just made that up. But that's the feeling. This is the area where I imagine those late night or early morning truckers would sit. They would park right up here to a stool at the bar. They would order their coffee and their pancakes like usual. They would sit there for hours and then they'd go about their day. Also, no Cactus Grill would be complete without cactuses. I tried to hide cactuses, not hide cactuses everywhere, but I tried to place cactuses throughout the builds, just as a reminder, this is where our namesake is from. I love those little cactuses. I think those might be base game, the ones that I put on the table. The artwork is also base game. The menu board, I have no idea. I have so much CC in my game. I could not tell you where that menu board is from, but I know it's probably base game. Don't quote me. No diner would be complete without a bunch of coffee makers and drink machines. And right now I'm cluttering up just a little bit. Like I said earlier, I don't like clutter, so this is as good as you're gonna get. I'm also not very good at placing clutter, clearly. But I like just enough to make it feel realistic. Like with the coffee cups and the coffee mugs, that's something that you would find on a diner counter. Same thing with the menus and the napkins and all of that. But overall, pretty clean, pretty classic, pretty modern. And after we hang some of these gorgeous green lanterns, I think that pretty much wraps up the interior of this diner. Then I'm gonna finish up by doing some more of my least favorite thing, landscaping the outside. I'm basically just creating a little garden with a little fence around it, and I'm just filling it with plants. I'm just grabbing some grass, grabbing some bushes, grabbing some... I keep saying cactuses. After I'm done recording this, I'm going to Google whether it's cactuses or cacti. Something in my gut is telling me it's probably cacti, and I'm going to sound like a total goober when I listen back to this. But we're throwing down some cacti in the front. I also throw a couple of cars down, a couple of parking spots. I want to make it look like people are actually attending this diner. And after that, that's going to wrap up this build, wrap up me yapping. If you like this build and you like the lore behind it and the storytelling, let me know. Maybe I'll do more of that. Maybe I'll just do builds with music. We'll see. We'll see whatever I feel like in the moment. Today I just felt a little extra chatty. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. And I'm gonna leave you to it. And I am gonna go play. Thank you so much.